in the middle between the two buds. So they pick a place about 3 or 4 inches high so you can work on it there, and they're going to cut it straight. You'll also notice that there's 2 little pieces of metal that come together and cause this to be cut. One's called a hook, the other's called a blade. One mashes, the other one cuts. One mashes, one cuts. Which way do you think we want the blade when we cut your beautiful stock off?
Right on the bottom.
We want the blade on the bottom. So look at your blade just a little bit, make sure your blade's on the bottom. Don't cut it this way, otherwise you're going to mash this shelf. This shelf I want to be shiny and pretty and straight. So just turn your clippers so the blade is cutting. Cut it straight off, then throw this thing on the ground. Why do we throw it on the ground?
So you don't graft it up.
Because we don't want to use it. Golly, if you set it on the table, the person next to you is going to pick it up and say, okay, here's my braid burn, and they'll graft it to their tree. And you got a rootstock grafted a rootstock, which is a lot of fun, but it's not smart. Good way to practice.
Could you use that to root?
Yes, you could. Yeah, a lot of this people take these home because you're going to have 100 of these today. There'll be 100 of these left over. Let's give them this to the guy right here, to Doug. Let's give him to Doug, and he's going to root them for you, and you don't have to have me here next year because these are worth $1 a piece next year. Put this in the refrigerator, let it, then figure out a way to get it to root. You can make rooted cuttings out of these guys, save $1.
Yes, so 50 cents.
Yes, that's a rootstock with good genetics in it. Yeah. 111. Keep it going. I throw them on the ground. They are hard to root.
Are they?
They are hard to root.
How would you root if you wanted to try?
I'd give it to the guy at Cal Poly, let him do it.
I'll give it to Doug.
I got so many things to do besides root cutting.
Do they root in a plastic bag like figs? Can you root them in a plastic bag?
If you look up getting hardwood cuttings to grow, there are a lot of tricks to it.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of tricks to it. But this is a hardwood cutting, and you're trying to get roots to come out of it. It's not easy.
Okay.
But it can be done. Oh yeah. He's going to do it, and he'll tell you how he does it. Ask him. Don't ask me anymore.
I will.
No more questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't call you.
Yeah, what is your number?
Next thing you're going to do when you come back from the getting a root over there is you'll find a knife, a very nice sharp knife on your carpet. We'll open the knife for you because some of you don't know how to open a knife. We're going to open it for you. When you get there, the red apron people have already run around and opened up a knife for you. Oh. Do we have any left-handed people in the room? Oh my golly, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
We have 4 left-handed knives. We have right-handed knives and left-handed knives. And those of you who are left-handed, you do need a different knife. It'll help you to have a different knife. Pick up your knife and look at it, turn it around 2 or 3 times, and then, oh, I forgot to tell you, Dick said we could take the oath here. Could they take the oath? Yeah. Okay. There's 2 or 3 things you need to know. Every time you put your knife down today, you better not put it on this piece of concrete. Don't put it on this beautiful shoe shape. Will you put it on the carpet for me? Say yes.
Yes.
These are very sharp knives. We don't want our knives on the carpet. Matter of fact, that's a good idea. When you get yourself a nice grafting knife, don't use it for anything except grafting. Don't use it to cut roots or cut wire or do pruning or whatever else you do with your pocket knife. Keep your grafting knife nice and sharp, and once you get a sharp knife, you appreciate it. You really enjoy using a sharp knife. So rule number 1 is you cannot put it on the concrete today. It has to go on the carpet. Rule number 2 is you have to raise your right hand and repeat the oath after me. It's a safety oath. Will you all raise your right hand, please? Repeat after me. I promise.
I promise
not to cut myself today.
not to cut myself today.
Not to cut anybody else today.
Not to cut anybody else today.
Have a very safe day.
Have a very safe day.
We have been to about, you're done, thank you. We have been to, I think, 16 high school community and junior high schools this year. We've grafted over 2,000 apple trees this year. We haven't cut one single person this year with a knife.
Wow, that's impressive.
That surely is.
Scary, it really is scary. Because I also teach at Cal Poly. I taught a lab at Cal Poly twice this year. And I had 2 cuts at Cal Poly.
Yeah, I was going to say they're smarter than you.
Yeah, the college students, they play around and they think they know everything. They cut themselves. I haven't had a college student this year take one of my knife, cut me. Where's Karen? I said to Karen today, she was cutting these up. I said, be careful, don't cut yourself, because the clippers also cut you. When you're cutting in a hurry, you're cutting the sign wood in a hurry, you cut yourself. So we're going to. We're going to go slow today and be very careful. We will not cut each other today. Is that a deal?
Yeah,
What if you want to cut somebody?
not here.
Some intentions of wanting to do that.
This is a rough
I
road.
don't want to know.
It's a good thing you're sitting over there and now you're here.
You're going to be standing up. A lot of you will be behind the curb here. You'll be standing up, and so I'd recommend you grab a hold of your knife with your right hand and turn it around 2 or 3 times. Make sure you know which side is sharp, because you're going to touch the blade like never before. So you're going to put your blade on top of that stump, right in the center of the stump and the center of the knife. So don't put your knife out here on the tip, or don't put it way back here like this. Put it right in the center of the knife and the center of the stump. I like to turn my stump, my rootstock around so the buds are on the outside, because you're going to split it. And you don't want to run into a bud when you first split it. So put your buds the outside. If you start to split a bud here, you're going to come to the bud and it won't be pretty. I want it to be pretty when you're done. So take your knife, put it right on top of that blade, stump in the center with the buds on the outside, and then touch the top of your knife and make sure it's solid. So if it's not solid, move it over here to a leg or someplace where it is solid, because the third time I want you to hit it nice and hard. Sometimes I tell the students, hit it twice and then look at your hand. See if it's bleeding. Because a kitchen knife, the kids all know a kitchen knife is sharp on the round side. That's how you cut things. A knife is round, but today the straight side is the sharp side. So put it on top there, hit it twice. The third time you could drive it home by hitting it right on top of the stump. Hit it right on top of the stump. Don't hit it out here. If you hit it out here, it can go all the way to the ground. So hit it on top of the stump, that's all the farther it'll go. Don't hold on to it. It's going to be strong without you holding it. So keep your hand up here and push with your left hand and wiggle with your right hand. And you do that about 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden you've gone down far enough. So push it till you've gone down 1 inch. That's all today's going to be. So have I gone 1 inch yet?
Yes.
Have I gone twice the thickness of my blade? Say no.
No.
No, I'm not quite there. I'd like to go twice the thickness of my blade. That's all. So go very slowly and push that puppy down till it's twice as thick, twice as deep as the blade is. Have I gone twice now? You did it. It's close enough. Take your knife out. Let me show you how to cut yourself. Watch closely. I'll show you how to cut yourself. You're in a hurry. You can't wait. Somebody's ahead of you. This guy's ahead of you. You're the slowest one. You grab a hold of this like the hair and you pull this up. When you pull up on the red handle, what does the tip of the blade do?
Goes down into your finger.
The finger. So get your hands clear down here, pull it out, and you're safe. Put it on the carpet, then go to somebody's house. You're ready to go to somebody's house. Let's go to Dick's house. Dick's got a tree over at his house called a Brayburn. We're going to go over there in, what month do we take our cyanwood? What month?
December?
December? January. We're going to go over to Dick's house in January, and we're going to knock on the door. It's daylight. Knock on the door and say, hey, I understand you got a nice Brayburn. Could I have a piece of cyanwood? He says, sure, Joe, take whatever you need. So my advice to you is you take whatever you need. You take this year's growth. It's not a year old yet. It's wood that grew last summer. Get this fresh stuff right off of Dick's tree. So get stuff that's about the size of a pencil, about the size of the same as your root. Get it from Dick's tree and get last year's growth. Don't get 2-year-old growth or 5-year-old growth. Don't get suckers. Get good, clean, healthy wood from Dick's house. Then run as fast as you can and do something with it. If he answered the door, you don't have to run. Take this cyanwood, take it home, put it in your refrigerator in a plastic bag with a piece of paper towel that's wet, cover it up like that. Put it in your refrigerator, and you can leave it there until June. Somebody told me when I first got here that they grafted with me at Pomona. Who was that? Who grafted with me at Pomona?
I did.
Cal Poly Pomona. Yes.
At one of your festivals.
What month was that?
I don't remember.
I remember. It was June. This gentleman, what is your name again?
Becker, Bob.
Bob?
Bob.
Bob came to a festival of fruit in Pomona, and we grafted apple trees same way I'm going to tell you now. And I gave him some wood that I put in the refrigerator in February. I gave it to him in June, and I didn't tell him my address or my phone number because I didn't know whether it would grow or not. Well, wood that you put in a bag like this, it got a little wet paper towel in it, don't freeze it, just refrigerate it, will it grow in June in Pomona? Say yes.
It must.
Yes.
Yes, it did. I haven't met anybody who's didn't grow that day. We grafted 75 trees at the festival in June, and they all grew. So you can store wood a long, long time from Dick's house in your refrigerator and keep it alive. So what you're going to do then is pick it out. We like pencil size. That's our rule of thumb. Yeah, there's a pencil size. That's how big we bring it to our scion exchanges.
Why do you cut it in February?
Why February? Because it's still dormant. It's still dormant. Let's back up in January here.
Yeah.
Keep changing.
December's okay. As long as the wood's still dormant, it'll store well.
Okay.
If it starts to grow, then it gets very complicated to keep it from drying out while you're grafting with wood that's already growing. What's that? I think that's a good rule. It's not true, but it's a good rule. If your buds are growing, they're swelling, they're all popping out, you're too late. That's the rule.
So, just curious on that.
There's a lot of ways to keep it alive.
Good, because I got flowers.
Yeah.
I say some of them never really
Go to sleep.
go to sleep. Your Anna and your Dorset, they never lost their leaves this year.
All right, let's stop for a second. The rule is if you're budded out already, it's too late. That's the rule. Now, if you still want to use it, maybe it's an exception. Maybe it's somebody gave it to you. Maybe you didn't know any better. You came here and you saw something. I don't have that. I could go over here to this tree that's already budded out, put it in my refrigerator, take it home, put it on my tree, and I know how to take care of it and keep it from drying out. And it's hard. And we won't have 100%, but you can do it. And so you just think about the tree trying to grow at the same time it's trying to heal. So you got to put it inside some kind of a greenhouse, a little plastic bag, a wet paper towel in there, talk to it every day, spit on it every day, keep it in the shade, don't let it get hot, all kinds of things to keep that guy from growing anymore. And you sure don't want 5 buds. You don't want to take this stick that's already growing, put 5 buds on a wounded tree and hope it'll grow. So you only let one, and the most dormant one is probably the one you're going to leave there. And certainly take your flowers off.
Yeah.
If you've got flowers on your scionwood and you got a bunch of them and it's already growing, get those off. Take a picture of them, smell them, throw them on the ground. Because it'll help dry that wood out very fast.
But if it hasn't really plumped up on the buds, you can do it any time of year.
Oh,
I mean, you've
yeah.
got some of the. I brought some off my tree this morning, and the ones down lower
Are still dormant.
right, still dormant.
Yeah.
So we take and use that
Take,
section,
use
don't
it.
let it dry out, and have a good
Don't
chance
let
of
them dry out. Yeah, we'll use those. Yeah. I think the comment was made back here. We learn a little bit by grafting, don't we? We learn a little bit more about how a tree operates by grafting. Yes. Okay, well, let's get back to work. Take your scionwood. Take your scionwood. Make sure you're sure which way the polarity is. What's polarity? Up is up. Down is down. So we're going to sharpen the bottom of this guy. We're going to sharpen the bottom of this guy so it'll fit inside our rootstock. And the way we do that, the way I like to do it, is I like to do it safely. And so safely means you never cut towards you. So those of you who've all been taught to do this stuff, you can't do that today. The rule is today we're going to cut away from us. So turn it away from your body, point it towards somebody else, aim the blade towards somebody else, and then try your wood out, try your knife out.
Oh, where's Stu?
Try your knife out. So put your knuckles against your stomach and try your knife out. Pull it across your stomach. Matter of fact, the first cut you take might be maybe to remove that bud. This bud that I took off gets it out of the way. Here, this bud's for you. You're going to be standing up. Grab a hold of your knife like you mean business. Can you see the red handle on my knife? No, you can't. Do I have my thumb on the blade?
Yeah.
Sure I do. I choked it. I got my thumb on the blade. I'm going to get up close and personal on this guy, and I'm going to find out whether this knife cuts or not. Because this is a different knife than you have, this is a different piece of wood than you have. You need to kind of practice with it and find out, oh my, this cuts nicely, or oh my, this is not sharp. And so what you're doing is practicing a couple of times, making a stroke across your stomach. When you're finished with your stroke, your knuckles are still touching your body. Let me show you what I'm really doing in perspective. We're cutting across this knife this way. We're slicing the bread. When you cut a cake, you don't push down on the cake, you slice the cake. So what we're doing is slicing the cake by start up against your knuckles, start up here like this, and swing across your stomach. It makes a flat, smooth surface. If I see anybody today using this thumb to push that blade down there, we may put a Band-Aid on your thumb and pretend you are not following directions. Because once you start pushing this with your thumb, you can't make a smooth cut anymore. Because you have to move your thumb a little bit. And pretty soon, you got a chainsaw going across there.
Yes.
My goodness.
All right, I'm overdoing it here. I'm talking a long time. What we're going to do is cut that until we're about halfway through. Are we halfway through? Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I went way too far. Cut too many. You're not going to cut as many as I did. Turn it over. Don't touch that. Don't. When you're making these slices, don't move this at all, because you're trying to make a flat surface. Turn it over. Actually, it's easier if you turn it a little bit. If you turn it a little bit, your knife goes through it faster. Don't. We don't want to get this done in a hurry. What we're trying to do is a perfectly flat, smooth surface. Turn it over, do the same thing on the other side. Now you know your knife a little bit, and you know this wood a little bit. So practice a little bit more, and oh my golly, you're going to have a slice come out flat on one side, flat on the other. Now I cut way too much off of one side. I way overdid it. I talk too much. Here's what I've got. I've got a screwdriver. It's flat on one side, flat on the other side. Clean, don't touch it. Don't talk, because it's drying out right now. The longer I stand out here, the worse it is. So get it done, put it in there. But I want you to look at this before I'm finished. This side has a perfectly flat, smooth, perfectly flat. But if you look at the edge of this little screwdriver, I cut too much off one side. It's very thin on one side. The other side is very thick. I'm going to call the thick side, that's thick, that's thin. That's thick, that's thin. The thick side I'm going to call side A. The bark goes all the way down to my fingernail. The brown bark goes all the way to my fingernail. Does it go to all my fingernail on the side B?
No.
No, so every time you make a piece of cyan wood, you're going to have an A side and a B side. The A side is the one I want to call thick. It's thicker. Because it's your first graft, there'll be a short side. Now I way overdid this. Yours won't be that bad. But I want to emphasize the fact that one side is thicker than the other side. You decide that. Then you take your thick side, put your glasses on, go back to your stump, put side A towards you. So you're looking at the thick side, open this up just a little tiny bit, put side A towards you, and push it down just a little bit and look at it. Push it down a little bit more and look at it. Push it down very slowly and beginning to look at it. And I left something in the car. No, there's some really neat, posters on the back of the trunk. Anyway, push it down nice and slowly and look at this puppy. You don't have to push it in all the way. Push it till it gets tight. Push it till it looks pretty on your side. Then pinch it together with your fingers. Pinch it together and show somebody with a red apron on. And the people with a red apron on, they will say nice things to you when they look at it. Say something nice there. Somebody's going to say nice things to you when they look at your side A. You must show this to a red apron.
Nice job.
Or thank you. Or your neighbor. Pinch it together and show them side A. Would you like to see side B?
Yeah.
Too bad. Too bad. Don't ever show anybody side B on your first graft today. Side B doesn't count. Side B is ugly. Side A is the thick side. The thick side.
How much do you leave on the top?
Oh, good question. His question is, how much stuff do we leave out on the top? And the answer is, I don't care. We're going to cover that. We don't care.
And how do you know how far down to put it?
You push it down until it gets tight, until it looks pretty. Does that help? Look at it. You have to look at each other.
Till it bottoms out.
Till it bottoms out or it gets tight. Now, if you've split 2 inches, you're going to push it down a long ways, aren't you? Let me do that again. If you split too far and you got a little tiny piece of, I got pink lady today, pink pearl today. Pink pearl is so tiny, you don't need to go a whole inch. So you look at your cyan wood and you say, okay, 1 inch. Oh, not so much. Or if you got a big, if we're going to use some of this big stuff here, oh my goodness, we can go down 1.5 inches. So I think it depends upon how big your cyan is, how far you go, and how far you push it.
So you don't have to have any of that showing.
No, you don't.
That you cut off, okay.
That's right, you don't have to have any showing. If you push it all the way down and nothing is showing, you probably have better contact down there. It's longer. Now Jill's going to show you some nice pretty pieces of paper. Oh yeah. Here's maybe a good example. This one, I think, this is the green cyan stuck in there. I think we got a way too thin Way too thin for me. Will this grow? Will this grow?
Maybe.
Must.
On an apple? The answer
don't
is yes, sir. This will grow, but I won't approve it today. It'll grow. This one. What's the matter with this one?
Oh, it doesn't have the point.
Way too thick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Will it grow? Absolutely, it'll grow.
But that's a weak graft, correct? It'll be weak, won't it?
This is weak.
It won't break out pretty easily?
This will break faster. My cat
Oh.
can break that off by rubbing on it. Yeah, if you take a hose, garden hose, and it's stuck and it won't go, and you're trying to go over here to water, and you pull on it really high, and you piece of cyanwood going up in the sky, go look at that cyanwood. Most of the time it's too thin.
Okay,
They break off very easily on the way home.
okay.
Yeah, I'd rather have a thick one than a thin one. Will this one grow? Say yes.
Yes.
It sure will. Will this one grow?
Yes.
Yes, it's too short. I won't approve it today, but will it grow?
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
will on apples. Apples are easy. That's why I came here. Think I'm a dummy? Will this one grow?
Yes.
Golly. What kind of knife did we use on this? Chainsaw. Somebody chewed on it. Will that grow?
Yes.
If you wrap it tight, it'll grow. On an apple. On an apple. You start putting stuff together on other plants that aren't as easy as apple to apple, this won't grow. Okay? What's that? Yes, that's a tangerine. Won't grow. Tangerines on grapefruit. You put that together, will it grow?
No.
No, don't get these people excited.
Sounds like you've been
Do you like this one? Say yes.
I like it.
Beautiful. Is there a little tiny bit of air gap underneath that
Yeah.
screwdriver? Is it
Yeah.
okay to have a little bit of air gap underneath your screwdriver?
Must be.
Certainly it is. We're going to cover that up. That's okay. Here's one that's perfect. There's no air gap under there. That doesn't matter. We want it to look pretty on your A side. Here's another example of an A side perfect. And I glued this one in here so nobody can mess with it. This one won't grow because it's a model. I thought I'd tell them that, Dick.
You want the caviar there? Together.
Yes. Okay, right underneath the bark. The reason it's pretty and it works, let me have that one again. The reason this thing works is that when the bark is lined up and the bark is lined up and the bark is lined up, the bark is all smooth across here, bark to bark to bark. That's what's pretty. The reason it works is because right underneath the bark there's some tissue, magic tissue called, everybody say cambium. Everybody say cambium is magic, cambium is magic, cambium is magic. And if you have the cambium lined up, that's what's going to make the tree grow. Because the cambium causes a callus, a scab, and the callus turns into pipelines that work. And it's magic. So you have to have the cambium lined up. Now if you put a big tree, you got a big trunk here, and you put a little tiny toothpick in it, the bark of the toothpick and the bark of the trunk here are probably a lot different. So then you got to start thinking about cambium and stop thinking about bark. But what we're doing today, all you got to do is line up the bark and you're done. Bark to bark works today because the wood, the scion, and the stalk are the same size. The bigger your stalk, if this were a tree that was 3 inches across, and we're putting a little tiny toothpick in there, bark to bark doesn't work. You have to know where the cambium is. That's a good point. All right, now once you got it in there and you showed it to somebody, you pinched it together pretty, and they've seen the side A pretty, the next thing you might do, you might go over here and cut the top off because you're going to have long sleeves on today. I'm the only one with long sleeves on today. This must be Arizona. Oh, this is a long sleeve.
Thin blood.
What we're going to do today on the first graft is we're going to cut off all but 2 buds. I only want 2 buds left on your scion. Only 2 on your first one today.
Okay.
Then I think you can wrap it nicely with a piece of green garden tape.
It's underneath that.
Oh yeah, there we go. We're going to start at the bottom on this. Look at your graft, make sure it's pretty on your side, and wrap this puppy 2 or 3 times down at the bottom where the split first starts. Cover up that air gap. Cover up everywhere it starts to split. Then after you've wrapped it 2 or 3 times, then I want you to wrap it really tight and strong. You can stretch this stuff, really stretch it tight. It won't break. Pull hard on it and wrap it all the way up and cover up everything until you get to the top of that root. Don't cover the top of the root or the scion with this tape. Wrap it tight as you can until you run out of tape. You go back down it if you want to. If it turns out to be a string instead of a nice flat shoe, that's okay. As long as you've covered it one time with the tape, you're all right. And then when you get near the end, then you put the Arizona hitch in it. The Arizona hitch is you reach underneath that last wrap, reach underneath there and grab the tail, pull that tail underneath that last wrap, pull it up good and tight, and you're done. If you bump this scion while you're wrapping with your sleeve, there's no guarantee now. You lost it. You lost the cambium prettiness that you had in the beginning. So wrap it tight, but don't bump that puppy. Turn it around, look at it, and you need some goop. The first goop you're going to use today will be black goop. So get yourself a can of black goop, and get a little tiny bit of goop on your dauber. This is called a dauber. Say goop dauber.
Goop dauber.
We were at a high school a couple of years ago, and we asked the students, what do you think goop tastes like? And our answer is nobody knows, because nobody ever tastes it. And one little blonde, she goes, she says, doesn't have much flavor at all. We stopped using that joke. I will not ask you what it tastes like. Put a little bit of goop on this dauber, and then daub this puppy everywhere where you cut, and fill the backside. The ugly side is the B side. Cover it up so nobody will ever see the back side. Cover the front side. Put goop all the way around everywhere you cut, but don't put goop on your buds. Put a little bit of goop right on the tip top right there, and don't get goop on your clothes or your hands. If it dries on your clothes or your hands, how long does it stay there?
Forever.
Forever. It's like a tattoo.
I still got the shirt I carried mine to the car in.
Jill has quite a few shirts of mine that are permanently tattooed.
What's the goop?
The goop is it's called tree seal.
Okay.
It's called
Water-based?
water-based, Morrison's tree. There's several different varieties.
Is that the exact same as just the water-based roofing material?
I think it is. It smells like it, tastes like it.
Looks exactly.
Same as roofing stuff.
Okay, just water-based.
It
Yes.
has to be waterproof.
I know that Henry sells it by the 5-gallon can, and it's 5-gallon drum. They sell this stuff, and so it's the cheapest kind is the black stuff. On your last graft today, we'll just have an experiment. I want you to try some of Doc Farwell's grafting goop. It's a mustard flavored. I mean mustard colored, and it's more expensive, and it's yellow, and it says it's plastic, and I've been using it for a year now, and I like it because it's not black. I got tired of black. Now, we've got a couple more jobs to do. One is to put the name on this tag, and we'd like you to use our tag today. We make these tags up so the kids know what the backside says, and then we put our name on it and the date on it, and it's okay with me if you put your date on it. I also put the root on it, because I like to know the name of the root. What's the name of your root today?
111.
111. Put that puppy on there for the picture, because we're going to take a picture at the end of the day today. Pull that up snug and tight until it clicks twice, and then it sticks out like that. Water it, and you're done. You had a question?
You answer.
Water it. Get out of the way. Which going to grow first? Which bud's going to grow first? The top bud, the second bud, or all the buds below the graft?
Below.
Oh yeah, the buds below the graft, they started growing 2 days ago when I took it out of the refrigerator. They've been growing in my car for 2 days already. So the first buds to grow will probably be all the buds down here below the graft. They'll turn green. When do you strip them off?
Then.
Well, then you could. If you're confident and cocky, strip them off as soon as you see them. But I like to say, well, if you took this home with you and you forgot to water it for a few days and you got some crummy wood, don't pull off the bottom buds until your top bud is really and truly growing. Because if your top bud dies for some reason, you can save $1 by keep this guy going. Just keep him going. He's going to grow, and you can graft him bud him this summer or something, because otherwise you got to buy another one. Okay? So the first buds to grow will be the ones down below. Then these two buds will start to grow. Probably the most excited bud of all, best bud for you to keep, will be the top bud. The top bud will probably grow the fastest.
Right.
And then, so if you want to, you can pinch off the second bud. If it's a wimpy one, pinch it off, and then this first bud becomes your trunk. If they're both growing equally, let's say both of them on June 1st, you look at your tree, take the green tape off, put it in a 5-gallon can, plant it in your yard by June 1st, because it wants out of here by June this year. These are nice roots on these. Oh, they're going to hit the wall of this can by June in downtown. Where are we? Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's going to grow fast. Get it out of here. This May. Take the green tape off. This May. Look at your A side, look at the B side. Look at both sides. and then you'll probably pinch this guy off. But if both buds are growing and looking very good, you may want to leave both buds and let them become something different. Maybe you're going to put it against a wall and you're going to fan it out here, espalier it out here, or you're going to have this one be a gala out here next year. This one's going to stay Brayburn or something. So I don't have any rules about which bud is going to be kept. You've got to look at it and decide where it goes in your yard and how much you're going to leave on there.
Do you have any problem with leaving the tape on?
No, I've left tape on. I've seen tape on for several years at schools where we come back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. Get it off of there because it will girdle it a little bit. But it stretches too. I don't think it kills the tree, but it looks terrible to have that on there 2 years later.
Well, usually it rots about a year and a half, 2 years here.
What's that?
It'll rot.
It'll rot. Okay.
Yeah, so.
I want to take it off in June and have you look at it. It's fun to see a brand new healing graft.
Successful.
Yeah, successful graft. That's part of the fun of it. Any questions?
What's the soonest you can take it off? I mean, you don't want to take it off more than 60 days or something? How do you know?
I peeked at it before.
Of course.
I peeked at it.
Of course.
Yeah, back in the early days when I was trying to figure out how soon you could take it off, I'd peek at it. Ooh, I'd wrap it back up again.
So at least 60 to 90
I'd say
days?
30 days is the least. If it's growing in 30 days, I think amazing. In 30 days, this will be growing nicely. You could take it off and peek at it. But if you got a cat or a hose or somebody else
That's strong.
that's
yeah.
very, very weak in 30 days. So I like 60 days. Let's make a rule. 60 days.
I like that.
I'm good at making rules. 60 days. But you can peak at 30. And then wrap it back up again. Especially if you have children or dogs. And you're not protecting this, because this is very vulnerable as a young graft. Any other questions? Yes.
I noticed you didn't clean anything with alcohol at all. Is that important in doing this?
I must have forgot that. Yeah, it's a good idea if you're going over to Dick's house to prune his tree. Clean your clippers before you go to his house and after you leave his house. That's a good idea.
At least
Do
after.
At least after. Do I do that?
Yes, you
Are there
do.
any other questions? I think it's a good idea when there's disease and you're pruning somebody else's orchard, and if you're going to go after pears, we got some stuff in our pears that you ought to clean your clippers before and after. It's a very good idea. Do it.
But you don't have to worry just from bacteria from your fingers getting on the knife. That was what I was thinking of mainly, the knife.
No.
It's best to drink a little, so it
No.
purifies your breath.
No.
Question. Do you need to maintain a humidity level around the new buds?
Not where I live.
Not
Not where I live. Now, this is Arizona. I would suggest that you keep this in an afternoon shade. I suggest you keep this very wet. You can't overwater a pot like this. It's going to drain out. It'll never really get soggy in this town. So I think you can water this and keep it wet and keep this in the afternoon shade. It ought to have morning sun. There's nothing wrong with this. It's a beautiful day. Golly. So I don't put these in the shade at my house. Not at all. They don't get 1 minute of shade. So at your house, afternoon sun probably would hurt this guy. It's going to be warm. I'd wait till it starts to grow, because you got a bad wound there. You're trying to make this grow through a cut. So all the nutrients that are going to be growing from now on are going to try and go through a wound. So don't leave more than 2 buds on. And don't let this get too hot the first month or two.
So
Yeah,
you
that's good
leave
advice.
outdoor?
What's that?
You already bring out the outdoor?
Oh yeah.
Outdoors?
Oh yeah.
Outside filtered
Outside.
shade.
Outside. Afternoon shade.
Just curious, just for information, the green tape. Some people say you use parafilm better or the clear tape. Have you noticed that much difference? It doesn't matter?
No, I've used a variety of tapes. I like green tape because you can stretch it really hard and make the kids wrap it. Kids wrap it. I want the kids to be tight. Most of the problems the kids have, they can't wrap it. It's a loose wrap when they're done. So I tell them, pull on it hard. If you use a white wrap, white is the same color as green, except it's white. Now there's something else he said, and that is parafilm. If you use a film that this is another point. If you wrap this, I want it physically strong. That's what I want first. Second, I want it airtight. So when I wrap it tight, and I cover the whole thing first time with a wrap tight. That's really what you want. You want it strong and you want it airtight. Now, if you're going to continue to wrap up, and a lot of the books show a wrap all the way up, then you use something else. You use a parafilm that stretches. It's a greenhouse. It'll keep those buds from drying out. I don't ever use that on apples because it's expensive. You don't need it. But if you're grafting tangerines on grapefruit on the sunny side of the tree, you may want to put parafilm over this entire scion to put it in the greenhouse so it won't dry out. I don't want to talk about that today. We want to talk about apples. The buds grow right through the parafilm.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yes.
That's what we did before.
Okay. I didn't bring any parafilm with me. I don't use it on apple because apples grow so easily by wrapping green tape down only on the bottom. Now, if you look in the book, some of the books say wrap it up with green tape all the way up and cover the graft union. Well, I don't want you to do that today because I want you to be wrapping it tight. And if you're wrapping it tight and then you come up here and start to wrap this tight, you break it off. And you got to start over, you say bad words. So stop when you get to the shelf, cover the shelf and the backside with tape, with goop, and you're done.
Good logic.
Always a good idea to look at this tomorrow and see if your goop dried. If you got a big gap on the backside, the ugly side, look at that gap and tomorrow put some more goop in there. Always, if it's got a big hole, look at it the second day. Especially this yellow stuff. I think this yellow stuff shrinks a little bit more than the black stuff. Any other questions before you go to work?
Can I use this cleft method for any fruit? Is it better than tea bag, especially for citrus?
The question is, can you use this on any tree at all, this same graft? The answer is yes. The question is, will it grow? This graft is not the best graft in the world. It's a safe graft, that's all it is. It's a good graft for apples. It's not the best graft. What's the best graft in the world? Best in the world. What do you call that?
I don't know.
What do you call it where you got a lot of cambium contacts?
Whip line?
It's called a whip and tongue.
Oh,
Not a whip and tongue. That's the best graft in the world. Do I teach that? Say no. No, I sent kids to the hospital with that graft. It's a very deadly cut when you're learning to do it. It's the best graft. Once you learn to do the cleft graft and you really get good at it, and then you go try it on lemons, on pineapple, you'll be very disappointed. And you'll want to say, what other grafts are there? And then you go try a whip and tongue, but you do it with somebody who knows how to teach it with Band-Aids. You're cutting towards yourself when you make a whip and tongue. This one you never cut towards yourself. That's why I like it. And I've taught whip and tongue to college students, and they bleed. They bleed. It's a very good cut once you learn how to do it. It's the best graft, I think, of any. So if you got something that's hard to graft, then go try a whip and tongue.
Yeah.
What's that?
You gonna demo it with the tongue?
Heck no, I'm not.
We don't have to do it, but you can demo it.
You guys are really pushing me here. Okay, one thing I'm not going to show you today. I will not show you today.
Oh.
I'm not going to show you any tools that'll make you a good grafter until later. Because I don't believe in this. I think you ought to learn how to graft first. Because this is almost like a whip and tongue, isn't it? This is. I'm not going to show you this. Are there any other questions that I can answer? Am I going to show you a whip and tongue today?
Yes.
I want to cut myself. Your first job is to go get yourself a root over there that comes straight out of the can.